Let's talk about my July reading wrap up. July was not the greatest of reading months for me. June, July, summer in general, I just went into a massive slump. And no matter how hard I tried to get out of it, I definitely was struggling. I did a little bit better in July than I did in June, and I had some really, really good reads. And I'm hoping, keep your fingers crossed, August is already going a little bit better for me, so hopefully it continues to go that direction. Before we talk about all of the books, let me tell you guys how I did and like what my stats were. I read a total of 9 books, which is 1 book better than what I read in the month of June. I read 3,936 pages, which is almost identical, like the 1 book difference made up the page difference for sure. And I listened to 28 hours of audiobook. My average rating was a 3.7. I had mostly 4 stars, 3 4 stars, 2 3 stars, 1 2.5 star, and actually had 1 5 star as well. So I had a pretty good reading month. It was just spread all across all of the ratings. I read mostly romantasy, but I also read the same amount of fantasy as I read romantasy, so pat myself on the back for reading a little bit of fantasy in the month of July. I did read 1 romance, but no horror or thriller mystery. Most of my books were in that 300 to 500 range. Most of them were books from authors that I had read from before. I read the same amount of Soul audiobooks, Soul ebooks, and Soul physical books. So I read 3 of each, which is pretty good. I definitely want to read more physical books because I haven't read any in the last couple of months, but I just have been like in my era of popping on an audiobook and reading with my Kindle because it's so portable, and I do like to immersion read, whereas sitting on the couch sometimes holding a physical book has not been as comfy for me, so I definitely have not been leaning into that. Okay, so those are all of the stats, so let's go into the books that I read. I started off the month with my only 5 star, which was Arcana Academy by Elise Kova. I really enjoyed this. It was our Not So Indie Archive, which is the book club that Cassie and I run together over on our Patreon. This was our pick for the month of July, actually. I think I said August. I meant July. But I had a great time with this book. It's about a girl who is taken prisoner, and we're in a world where you use arcana as the magic system, so like tarot cards, and she was essentially led into a trap, taken into this vicious prison, but somebody offers her a way out if she will be betrothed to him and help him find this world-changing card. But to do that, she's got to join Arcana Academy, and she is going to be fake betrothed to the headmaster for her safety. I liked the romance in this. I definitely felt like the magic system overshadowed the romance by a ton. I thought the world building was so cool and unlike most of anything that I've ever read before. I recommend it if you're somebody that's looking for more like a fantasy romance. You want a little bit more of that fantasy element and not quite as much romance, but still a pretty heavy subplot of romance, as well as something that's unique and fresh. I think Elise Kova did a great job with that in here. I really liked the characters. I do wish that the side characters had been a little bit more fleshed out, but other than that, I had a great time with this book. Then I read Crescent Kingdom by Tessa Hale. This was a quick, easy, fun popcorn read. I give it a 4 star, and I just enjoyed my time reading it. This is a why choose about a werewolf, but she is a half werewolf, half witch, and she is on the run from her father. She ends up in this small town and finds 5 or 4 other werewolves and becomes a part of their like pack, essentially. I don't really want to say too much because I feel like this book is so short it would easily give away more than it needs. I just had fun with this, but I do think that if you are wanting something with a lot of depth, this is probably not it. She skirts the surface of depth, like we talk about trauma, and you can tell if the guys all have a past, and I really liked all of the men. I thought that they were very like different in their characters, which I enjoyed, but I feel like she just would kind of lean into the depth and then immediately pull back. And there was also a few plot points that the more I think about it, I'm like, that probably wasn't a 4 star, but I just had so much fun I didn't care. But it definitely had massive plot holes. Like, I don't understand where these mages came from and what their purpose was. They would just kind of show up when I think she felt like the plot was getting boring, and then they would immediately go away again. But I do want to continue with the trilogy because I just think that they're popcorn reads, and I'm going to be using that when I need something like refreshing just to get my mojo back for sure. I also read A Grave Matter by Karina Holly. This is one that I have very mixed feelings on. It is a romantic sci-fi horror, which I feel like I don't say very often. We have a girl who leaves the university to go travel to this like remote town, seaside town in Canada to study a fungus that could help with Alzheimer's disease. She's going there because her grandmother passed away from this and she wants to learn more about it, but they're very, very secretive. They won't let you have any phones. Weird stuff is happening, but she also finds herself falling for one of her teachers. He's not really a teacher, but kind of like mentor, I guess. And it's very insta-lovey, but there's a reason for that. And I don't know. I felt like the twist was good. I definitely saw parts of it coming and parts of it that I didn't. I felt like the science elements and stuff when we got there were really good. I definitely liked the second half better because the first half just felt so insta-lovey in my opinion that I really was not having a good time with with that. I literally stopped the book, paused the audio, and went, wait, what? Because the sex scenes kind of came out of nowhere for me. But once I got toward the end of it and things started to make more sense, I did enjoy it more. I liked the writing. I think that the atmosphere was really good. So if you're looking for something along those vibes to read, especially in spooky season, I would recommend this one. Also read Terror at the Gates by Scarlett St. Clair, and I was so nervous to read this one, but I had a really good time with it. The more I sit on it, the more I like it. I breezed through this audiobook. I read it in 48 hours. I think that it just, even though it was very slow paced, and that's probably my biggest complaint about it, there was something about it that just kept me flipping the pages. Every time I would get a little bit bored, something would happen and I would be immediately sucked back in. Had a little bit of a mystery element to it. I really liked the urban fantasy vibes, and I liked Lilith a lot. She's going to frustrate a lot of people. She's not the most likable character, but in my opinion, she's a hot-headed, relatable mess, and I really enjoyed that. It is friends to lovers, but with really good tension, so that part didn't bother me. I'm normally not a friends to lovers gal, but because the tension was so good, I think that that really worked for me. Where it started to lose me was when they got together. I felt like the tension kind of went away and it got a little more mushy than I wanted it to be, but the found family vibes in this were incredible, and I really liked the way that it ended. I don't think I told you what this is about or what I rated it. I gave it a 4-star. It's about Lilith, who has magic, but this world basically makes women subservient to men. We're in like a very heavily religious world, and women are essentially kind of just told to shut up and do what their husbands tell them to do. She is the daughter of one of the most powerful families, and she doesn't want any part of that, so she runs away to this like Sin City where she is going to try to make a name for herself, but he asks one of the like gang leaders essentially in the city to look after her while she's there. They find a dagger, and some really weird things start happening with this dagger, and there's kind of this mystery as to what this is and what role that it is playing, and they're kind of like working together to figure all of that out. It was really good, and I'm excited to continue on in the series and find out what happens next. Also read Forbidden Alchemy. This is the Owl Crate edition. I will be unhauling this because sadly I gave this book a 2.5 star, and I feel like I am majorly in the minority and I am sad about it, but it just felt like this was so boring. It had such a cool premise of like Peaky Blinders and alchemy magic, but it just didn't work for me. We start off with our characters being very, very young, and there is people that are like, I don't remember what they call them, but basically you are the grunts, or you have the ability to like do different magic, and you go to the school to learn more about it. And essentially the people that drink this potion can tell whether they're one or the other. It kind of like brings that out in you. Come to find out, they're only giving the potion to the elite, so you can't actually be one or the other. It's just whoever's lucky enough to get it. They find this out, and then we shift forward many years where Patrick is on one side and she is on the other side, and their fates come together again. And it sounds like it would be really good with a rebellion and some like gas lamp type atmosphere. I loved the alchemy part of it, but then we got no alchemy, we got no tension. It was friends to lovers, but not in a good way. It was second chance romance, but actually not, because they only met for a day before we shifted to the future. There was this weird like first half of the book was in the past, but then I was never really invested because it felt like we were supposed to be in the present timeline. It just did not work for me at all. I felt like the twists were not surprising. They did not catch me off guard. It felt very predictable, and I just did not enjoy this one, which is sad because I feel like everybody around me was giving it 4 and 5 stars, but this did not work for me on so many levels, and I hate to say that. Please do not come for me, because if you enjoy this, I'm so glad. I'm honestly just jealous because I wanted to love it too. It missed the magic for me. Then we went into my 6th, I think, episode of One Shelf. I cannot believe we're on 6 episodes of One Shelf, and I read a lot of fantasy for this one. I finally read the sequel to one of my favorite books, which is The Unkindness of Magicians. I did not like this one. I ended up giving this a 3-star, but in hindsight it's probably more of a 2.5, and I think I'm actually going to change that because it was unnecessary. This didn't need to happen. There's a really cool world where we have magicians and they're in the unseen world, and they have like this tournament every so many years to see who's going to be the most powerful house, but then they also have to give their magic to the House of Shadows to keep everything running smoothly. And the first one we have Sydney, and she wants to take down the House of Shadows, and it's her journey to do that. This one happens the direct aftermath after An Unkindness of Magicians, but I felt like that story was done and this could have been a novella. Like there wasn't enough to make a book out of this, and you could clearly tell that she was struggling to fill up the pages because things were happening over and over again, like the same scenes over and over again, and it just got extremely repetitive. The characters weren't enough to carry it for me, and unfortunately it just didn't work. And that's sad because this is the sequel I never needed, but the sequel I always wanted, and so for me to really not enjoy it just was a bummer. But I did get to read A Reaper at the Gates and thoroughly enjoyed this one. This is the third book in the Ember and the Ashes series, and it is a world where we have Jinn and a rebellion. It is a non-Western setting, so we have Laia, and she agrees to help out the rebellion in exchange for finding her brother. And then we also have Elias, who is the son of the like commander essentially, and he is training to be a mask for the king's army, and it's their journey and their different sides of the war, and there's just such cool magic. This one really expanded the magic system in my opinion. I thought that was really good. It dug deeper into the character motivations, and I got to see them kind of grow and develop even though they were all apart. I do wish the characters had been together a bit more, but I liked the way we set up the big epic battle in this, and I just thought it was really good. I gave it a 4-star. There was something about it that held me back from giving it like a 5-star with my full chest, but I still really enjoyed my time and breezed through this book. Also, for one shelf, I read The Queen of Sorrow, and this one was very similar to me as The Slate of Shadows, where I felt like I didn't need it. It felt a little bit, not necessarily redundant, because we were definitely getting new information, but it just felt like we were trying to make a plot to give ourselves this information when we could have easily put it in the other books. This is a world where we have spirits that essentially help to keep the earth alive. They are earth spirits, water spirits, fire spirits, and they help to make trees grow and to make the environment work the way that it's supposed to. The thing is, they don't want to be doing that, and they want to destroy humanity. So you have a queen that is able to kind of control them and keep them more subservient so that they don't wreak havoc across the lands. So we follow one character in the first book, we follow a little bit of a different character for reasons in the second book, and then this one kind of pulls all of those back together again. The best part of this for me were the villains. I think that their motivations were really cool to follow and to see how the differences are between like a goody character and a more like morally gray, I'm just doing this for me kind of character, and I thought that discussion was really good. But overall, this just felt like, I don't know, it was fine. It was easy to read, it was easy to listen to. I really enjoy the world building, but I was not gripped by the plot or the characters, and so I just felt like I was kind of existing while reading this and not really loving it. So I did give it a 3-star. I just was a little disappointed that this was supposed to be the epic finale. And the last book that I read in the month of July was a buddy read with Cassidy, and that was The Mask Falling. This was a reread for me, and I'm very happy to say that my feelings stayed pretty similar to the first time that I read it. I don't think that it hit as emotionally hard for me this time as it did the first time that I read it, just simply because I knew what was going to happen. So I definitely feel like on reread it kind of came down at least a 1/2 star for me, but I still thoroughly enjoyed this. This is about Paige Mahoney, and she lives in a world where clairvoyance is illegal, and it's this dystopian world. She works for this like underground gang essentially, and she is the second in command. In the bone season, she gets taken away and taken captive and meets the warden, and this rebellion ensues across the rest of the books. This one definitely moves into a different part of the world and kind of pulls our characters away from each other a little bit, and I do think that after having reread all of them and getting more attached to the characters, I do wish they had been together a little bit more. I missed a lot of those side characters, but I did like seeing the relationships develop between the characters that we did have together. I liked getting some of those newer characters, seeing those different factions of the world and how they operated. I thought that was really cool. This was definitely a lot better for me the first time I read it when it was more emotionally impactful, but I still really loved this. I love Paige. I love watching her make decisions and completely going bullheaded into situations and like wanting to shake her, but also being like, yeah, I get it. So this was really good for me. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I cannot wait to read Dark Mirror. I'm scared of it, and I'm gonna try not to put it off as long as I did The Mask Falling, because I was supposed to have read this like 6 months ago. But I definitely want to get to it sooner rather than later. So I've said this with a couple of books, but if you don't see me reading it anytime soon, yell at me. So those are all of the books that I read in the month of July. Have you read any of these? Did you feel similar to the way that I felt about them? Did you have the complete opposite opinion of the way that I felt about them? I do want to know down in the comments. If you just want to let me know that you were here and hanging out, leave me a fire emoji for Reaper at the Gates. If you want to see the one shelf episode that a lot of these books came from, I will leave it up on the screen for you guys to check out. As always, thank you so very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.